Let's bring in Robert McCaw, who is the Director of Governor Affairs at the Council on American Islamic Relations, and he joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the program. How would you describe
For having me.
the U.S. and global reaction to the fact that one of Islam's holiest sites was stormed while people were praying on a very special day during Ramadan?
Well, the American Muslim community was absolutely shocked at the scenes and the footage of this violent attack on Palestinian worshipers and protesters at the Al Aqsa Mosque. I think there's a disconnect in America, though, and especially in the media, where they're framing this as a clash between Israeli forcers and Palestinian protesters. These are Palestinians worshiping in a house of worship. These are Palestinians protesting ethnic cleansing and racial and religious apartheid. This is not just one or two sides of an issue squaring off. So there is a disconnect in the U.S. media. I think globally, there's a better sense that this is a community that is under attack, and that it's just not two sides of an issue.
And just to pick up on that word, the use of clashes and the fact that sometimes it is just seen as Palestinians reacting.
It's not Palestinians reacting, it's Palestinians defending themselves. It's Palestinians responding to human rights violations. It's responding to their civil rights being violated, their legal rights under international law, their God-given human rights to live in East Jerusalem, to live in Sheikh Jarrah, to worship in Al Aqsa Mosque. And we see their rights being violated. And this is the natural response to protest. We've had protests for the last year in the United States, where the African American community, the Black Lives Matter movement, have protested against police violence. We see the same type of training, the same type of heavy-handed response by the police against Palestinian protesters that are fighting for their rights. And so I would say, at least in minority communities across the United States, there's a better awareness of the plights of their Palestinian brothers and sisters. I think, though, that we are seeing a shift in America where we are having now more members of Congress, progressive members of Congress, speak out on these issues. And so,
And Robert,
there
will
is
that make a
change.
difference, though, to public opinion, particularly, Rashida Tlaib, the first Palestinian American congresswoman speaking out? Will that reach public opinion?
I think that has inspired other members of Congress. If it was Rashida alone, no, she can't do it by herself. But we've seen about 16 members of Congress now speak out, express concerns, condemn Israelis' violent responses, condemn Israel's evictions of Palestinians from their homes. So we are seeing this shift where just 5 years ago, we would not have seen 16 members of Congress stand up for Palestinian rights and condemn Israel.
Okay.
Is it the change that's going to rock the system? No, but it's the beginning of something.
And the change that could rock the system can anything actually change the fact that the U.S. administration's financial support for Israel's defense is still roughly $4 billion in annual military aid?
We already have laws that should technically prevent U.S. military arms from going to other countries that are using those arms to suppress civilian populations, like how Israel uses our military aid and weapons to suppress Palestinians, protesters, raise houses. So now it's more, can we get accountability in the U.S. to uphold the Leahy law and tell the Biden administration that no, they cannot actually transfer this aid to Israel. We are talking about this today in the U.S. When just 5 years ago, again, we were not having these conversations. So it's a building conversation. I can't say we're there yet, but we're having conversations now that we've never had.
Great to have your analysis and your perspective. Robert McCaw, Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations.